Hey friends, today we're driving into something like super juicy. The hot tea on NAFTA. Yeah, I know. And I know there's two split camps on here. As always, we're looking at both. And I think as always, there's a little truth in both sides, right? Jokingly, like my father's calling it the apocalypse. And so this is one of my other favorite libraries, the Rare Books Library. So many libraries around here. So as I'm doing my research, as I dug into this for you guys, I also stopped by just to see, what does? Is he right? I like eggs just like anyone else. The simple egg, right? 2024, was that like $3-4? And now $7.99, at least around here. I know that ranges for everybody, but yeah, that does mean, as we're looking at it, it is going to be short-term. Reindustrialization means high food prices, and that means a real hurt to our economy and jobs, right? Especially depending on where you're based. Maybe less of the blues down in Texas, alcohol producers, but it does have rippling effects on things like, and higher price items, if you're thinking medication and some of the stuff that the Trump administration had done before. So it does beg the question, right? What are we looking to do with it, and what's the why? And if you look at just the brass tacks of it, right, as an economist, you can't just immediately. It took a long time for globalization, right? And democracy abroad does. We haven't had a world war since JFK, Nixon really rolled out global democracy, and that's been a really effective strategy for us. Comparative advantage, whatnot. However, bringing high-skilled jobs back home, through reindustrialization, that does take time. Looking at the numbers, it does mean eventually perhaps we could get egg prices back down, but depends on things like global wars. And I also think that it could be a move trying to flex to give power, right? If you're trying to have some strengths for Mexico fentanyl arguments, but it's a risky play, right? Or if it's the shooting your foot so that you're shooting China's foot harder, right? Another kind of take on it. Our economy is going to shrink and hurt, but theirs will hurt worse. So I do see a lot of short-term pain because I don't see a lot of supplementary programs or mitigation of that, because we all know that when you make massive trade policy or economic policies are going to hurt jobs and do things like raise food prices in the short run, that always is like a massive impact on the poor, right? It's like essentially like a poor tax that no one had approved. But I also understand some of the motivating drivers, right? If you want to really be able to stop the harm with fentanyl and the Mexico trade, or if you still really want to prevent a global war and you want to cut off, right? So it's never as simple as black and white, and this person's evil, and this, I don't pretend to be able to know the long-term drivers of the administration. I think I've already voiced my issues with the mechanisms, right? Because bypassing Congress means you essentially take away what protects our rights, our human rights, our basic human rights, and that's a threat to the people, which I don't think there's never a justification to take, in my opinion. However, with NAFTA, I mean, it's a bold strategic move, but I don't have all the information. It's not all public, and I think more will have to be revealed, right? More will be, but I don't think it's a question as to like why we're all seeing these practice drone things in New Jersey and Texas, or why they're worried about bringing not just enough food to feed the population, but enough trying to spur it here, or reindustrialization. Those are all war prep efforts, right? It doesn't take a genius to piece that together. Or slowly releasing things to the public about aliens and the ocean, or all it, right? That's all stuff that you do in preparation to prepare your public, right? That's the kind thing to do, because if you know that they're going to face, or the likelihood of them to face a systemic global war, a massive trauma, you're trying to prepare them. I mean, that's a responsible thing to do. The prior administration as well, right? So we don't have all the answers or all the information to know exactly what's going on, or why, or what they're preparing for, or why, right? I think it's just there isn't a lot of trust in our leadership on either side, either platform, because we know there's been a lot of self-interest, right? Which I think the administration has been outwardly stating that it's draining the swamp and blah, 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 blah. But I think we look at actions and not words, right? And they're taking a lot of actions, but then again, they're doing so with some dangerous mechanisms. So, I don't know. I don't think it's a clear-cut picture. So, there's your answer. Sorry. Try to be revealed, I guess.